Coming up today on Locked On at Texas Tech, Tech Hoops gets a win over Omaha, but not without a cost. Some lingering injury concern for Devin Cambridge leaving that game. We get into that. Also, Ducks out, Cougars in. You want to be mad? Should you be mad? We'll explore, and we hit the portal as those wheels continue to turn. Next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We're going to start this thing off right. Raider! Everything runs through Lubbock.
Great to see you again on Locked On at Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn today to get started. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to see you again. And we got another one of those, to use an industry term, bucket full kind of episodes, as we'll be touching on a variety of topics. The wheels on the portal continue to go round and round. We're getting to the latest there coming up in just a bit. We'll also get to a scheduling switch that we talked about previously. Did it come to pass as we expected it to come to pass? We'll dive into some of those things. But first, let's get back to United Supermarkets Arena, Chris, where Tech put a lot of things together to down Omaha 87-58. There were really a lot of things to like on both ends of the floor. Unfortunately, I guess the result at the end of the day marred by some injury concern for a primary contributor we got to take away. So you tell me where you want to start, my man, because there was a whole lot to take in. And what seemingly coming into it was just kind of a typical take care of business Thursday nighter against Omaha, but may carry a heck of a lot more significance for your season than we anticipated.
Yeah, there was a lot that transpired. You're right. We had a career night from Kerwin Walton, which you know, it's one of those things where you never know what you're going to get when you show up to a stadium or an arena or just go watch a game. You know, you're going to see something different, and you saw something very unique if you were in the building or watched it last night. And Kerwin Walton had a career night. I mean, he had never scored that many points in a college game. He almost didn't miss. He just missed the 1-3 at the end. Otherwise, he's perfect from a shooting standpoint, and it was much needed. It has been much needed, and it will be much needed. Yes. But he's. I think this kind of started in the Bahamas, but he's kind of started to work his way in a little bit as far as more playing time, more minutes. And I think, I don't want to say he took Lamar Washington's minutes or switched roles, but I mean, he was inserted into the game before Lamar Washington has been, whereas before that, it was Chance McMillan and Lamar Washington. But yeah, I think Kerwin Walton, and I don't think you're asking him to score, like 22 a night, but if he can help you score, but the main thing, the reason why I think he's earned more playing time, he's gotten better on defense. He mixes in a couple of assists, about 3 boards. He had a couple of deflections last night. He's just much more active on the defensive end. It's amazing how much better you can play on offense and how much better the shots go. I mean, the game will reward you, and it's I think whenever you play and exert some energy on the defensive end. So that was a lot of fun and unexpected. I mean, but a lot of fun to see.
Yeah, no doubt. And that was something exactly that Red Raider head coach Grant McCasland touched on post game. Here's Coach McCasland.
Omaha attacks the basket. They're one of the best at getting to the free throw line in the country. And so our ability to guard one-on-one, take some pride in individually guarding and not fouling was a huge part. And honestly, I thought the one guy that set the tone for us was actually Kerwin when he came in the game. And he also, I think that led to him playing great offensively. It wasn't the other way around. If you watch it, he was doing a phenomenal job on Fiddler, because Fiddler's one of those guys that if he gets in a rhythm and feels comfortable, he can take a game over because he can make hard shots. And Kerwin made it hard on him and knocked the ball out of his hands. We got a loose ball, and I thought, okay, now we're playing. Like, that was the energy we needed, and I thought his energy defensively was the difference. And then it bled into what he did offensively, which he had a great night. We still got to be better rebounding. One area I felt like was good for us, we got to the free throw line and we made more than they took. And in a team that attacks the basket like they do, I thought our defense, our ability to play without fouling and then getting to the free throw line was the difference in the game.
I got to tell you, Chris, after a 6-for-7 night from beyond the arc, a coach that points to the defense being the catalyst towards that is a coach after my own heart. I love that from Coach McCaslin there.
Yeah, well, and that's honestly, that's the way everything's going to be judged, man, is how you guard. It's kind of, I think Chris was largely that way. Mark was largely that way. And now Grant is going to largely be that way. But, Grant talked about after that Butler game, we got to figure out and develop more depth. We got to do some different things here if we're going to play as fast as we're playing right now. And he feels like that's an advantage because I think that he knows when the game slows down, that's when they struggle to score, one, and two, at least at times they have. And two, that's where they really struggle to defend. I think they have a hard time keeping people out of the paint. It's just not where he wants it to be. I don't know if you necessarily have the personnel that in place or caught up yet or developed enough to guard in a half-court setting. So I think that any playing time or positives defensively it earns you more minutes and it earns you trust. And that's why I like when Kerwin, because look at what Warren Washington did on their big and Nick Davis. He held him scoreless. It's a kid that was averaging in close to double digits in points. Warren Washington holds him scoreless. I thought, he praised Kerwin Walton for what he did. I think, that's those are the kinds of things that earn you some more minutes.
18 for 20 at the free throw line, led by Joe Toussaint, 7 for 8. We don't have to say a lot about Toussaint at this point because he did exactly what you described yesterday, gave you just about everything that he has to give as he was a double-digit scorer with 18, 1 of 3 for the Red Raiders. But before we move on, Chris, I know the injury conversation is going to be one that lingers into a few days, and I hopefully not much further into the season, but it seems like there's some genuine concern.
Yeah, at some point, middle part of the second half, I guess it was, Devin Cambridge went down, could not put any weight on his left ankle, left knee. We're sitting here having a conversation about you need more depth, which means you don't have enough guys that you trust or as it is, and you're trying to find more of those. If Cambridge goes down for any period of time, it's going to sting. And I don't know. I think there's some concern. Like here's what makes me worried, and I think Grant was kind of hinted at this last night. I do genuinely think there was like some real talk about redshirting Kyron Lindsey, okay, and he played last night after the injury to Cambridge, and I think Grant even hinted at that as like, man, we're trying to develop depth. We don't know about Devin, so we're just so. That's a big decision, and it should it should tell you that they're just thin at that power forward, swing forward type spot that they've been trying to play as a big and as a power forward and all those kinds of things. So that was, and again, I don't think at that point Grant knows the status of Devin Cambridge, but I think that you're preparing for all scenarios, and I think that's a heck of a, an answer or heck of a kind of a side story there. Like, when you're sitting there wondering about Cambridge and his health status, but because is it, hey man, he's going to be fine in a week? Is it, there's no worries. Is he out for a month, 2 months? Don't know, but he brings something to you that you simply don't or can't get from others. When they go small, he plays center.
And does it fairly explosively, a lot bigger than what
Yes.
his measurables read. And we are just talking about his explosiveness yesterday. So anything that hobbles that, much less keeps him totally off the floor, obviously not ideal for Texas Tech, but we'll wait and see what the results are going to be.
And luckily you don't play again until next Tuesday. After that, you don't play again until next Saturday. So there's some space in between these games, but because once conference play hits, man, if you're out for 2 weeks, you're missing 4 key games, So I didn't mean to, sorry for interrupting, but it's just, that would not be good, man, if he's out for any period of time.
That's about the only silver lining, I guess, in the situation. So I'm glad you included it, is where you are scheduling wise right now. And with all due respect to Vanderbilt or whoever else you got coming up, it ain't quite Big 12 play. So if there's any time to utilize to get him to feeling better and back on the court, that'd be great. But we don't even know what kind of opportunity you have yet. So only time will tell. All right, let's pivot here. And speaking of time, what are you doing in 2033? First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Heat up the action and keep the sports flames stoked this winter with America's #1 sportsbook and the official sportsbook of Locked On. There's nothing nicer than cuddling up by the warmth of a nice prop bet or a player parlay. And if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action with their safe, secure, and easy-to-use app where it's all at your fingertips. And of course, when you win with FanDuel, you're always paid instantly. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. That's $150 back if your team wins. You'd be a fool not to take a bite out of that apple. So get to FanDuel.com/lockedon and sign up today for your shot at $150 in bonus bets with any $5 money line bet that hits with FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. What are you doing in 2033? Texas Tech may have already made plans for you. We'll have to wait and see on that. But this comes across the bow yesterday, Chris, from John Canzano, who I guess will believe in this situation, even though he was the emperor without clothes in the Pac-12 realignment situation. Anyway, Ducks, Beavers. What does that mean to you? Probably nothing. Civil War means a lot, I guess, in the Pacific Northwest. That is back on as a result of Texas Tech in the Oregon Ducks now being off. Instead, next year of going to Eugene, Oregon, the Red Raiders are going to go to Pullman, Washington to take on the Cougars of Washington State. Why do I mention 2033? Because there's also reporting of consideration of coming back around, I guess, at some point in the 2030s with Oregon. There's consideration of this beginning a home-and-home series with Washington State that would be returned, I think, like after 2030 is the reporting I saw there. There's a lot to consider. I want to immediately say, harumph, harumph, harumph. Hey, that guy didn't give me a harumph. But I don't even know if there's any justification to, Chris. I'm not sure how I feel about this or if I feel any way about it. So how'd you process this as it came across?
This was something that Texas Tech was approached Thanksgiving week by the folks at Oregon. And, trying to, because here's where, look, one side of it is, oh man, I really wanted to go make the Oregon trip. That would have been really fun. And all those things from the Tech fan base. I did too. I mean, I was kind of interested to see it. Will Washington State be as good as Oregon? Probably not. But here's where Texas Tech finds itself. You have two in-state schools wanting to play each other. You can help facilitate that. You've sat here and talked about, you want to play A&M, you want to play Texas, in-state rivals, all that stuff. And so I think that, were you willing to help facilitate? Yeah, you were. I think that did you want some things out of the deal if you were asked to adjust? Yeah, you did. And I think, you'll, who knows whether these games will be played and scheduling.
Yes.
Here's the thing. I just think that the sport is changing so much. I mean, do we know that the college football playoff is going to maintain at 12 teams for the foreseeable future? Do we know how your non-conference schedules are going to be judged? Do we know, there's just, I mean, do we know what league, technically
No
Washington State or even Oregon are going to be in 10 years, all that stuff. So you're trying to, just plan as best you can with an eye down the road, but also kind of the here and now, because basically you traded a Pac-12 team for what I guess we would determine a Mountain West team.
The Shoulder Shrug Conference.
Yeah, that's right. And but I think Oregon really wanted this. I think you'll still play them at some point down the road. Yes, I know what has been discussed. Texas Tech is not in a position to officially say this or that. I think there's some things tied to the Washington State game that I think will make some sense once Washington State announces it. I think you got a little extra money out of it, but can you sit here and say, well, we took the moral high ground and trying to help these folks play their in-state game, which they wanted. I don't know if that is worth anything to anybody, but that is something to consider because I think they were trying to help, and it because like the Oregon scenario, usually it's a home and home. If like somebody, if you go play at Oregon and they're like, hey, we want to switch it, we don't want to come to your place, I think you would have been like, bull junk, as Deion Sanders would say. Yeah. But in this case, you got the home game. You got the best part of it, and so with them wanting to move it, because again, these were their wishes. They brought this to you. They were trying to do whatever they could to help facilitate. And you may get a home game out of Washington State out of it, which you've still got some spots to fill. You'll still get a game with Oregon, it sounds like, down the road. So we'll see. But yeah, I do. Are you playing in Pullman next year? Yes, you are. I think that was, and I will say this too. Everyone involved at Texas Tech in that decision was up to date and okay with it. Whether you have an issue with it or anybody has an issue with it or whether I have an issue with it, everybody was on the same page. They knew everything that Washington State kind of had coming back. There's plenty of members on your staff that had spent time at Washington State. I mean, there's all kinds of dynamics there. Because the first thing I thought of was, man, Oregon may lose a lot. And it may be good to go get them and play them early. And maybe you sneak up on them because they don't lose many games up there. Whereas if you go up and lose to Washington State, it's kind of like the Wyoming thing. Whereas if you beat Oregon, look out. There was that. I'm just was thinking about it in all different aspects. So I certainly understand all the different dynamics and all those things. But you're basically playing a road game in the Pacific Northwest. That hasn't changed.
So crazy, so much to consider, and I can only take it from a fan perspective. Moral high ground. This is college sports. There ain't no moral high ground. Warring self-interest. That's what we described it as earlier in the week. That's what it is, except I guess for us. This is so Tech. It hurts. We've lost I shouldn't say every, but 9 out of 10 interesting games on our schedule, yet we're the ones that will take a lesser game to help somebody else preserve an interesting game. If Oregon cared about it so much, why didn't you fight for it in the legislature or whatever else you had to do to maneuver it around? That part stings to me. You are right. We already got the benefit of the home and home in that we had them at home, but there's also the thought of being back into what I feel like, and I know it's kind of a technicality because of the conference alignment and it just changing, but what I feel like we were just talking about, we wanted to avoid. We don't want to go to Wyoming anymore. We want there to be a payoff on the road. Well, sorry, buddy. Washington State, in my opinion, is in that same category. The cash, the things like that, totally lost on me, unless that means you're discounting season tickets next year or something, which I'm sure will happen. There's a lot about this I don't get, but there's also a lot about this that is totally non-impact to me as a fan. So that's why I say, like, initially I'm like, wait a second, feels like I shouldn't like this. And then I'm thinking, okay, wait, why would I actually not like it? Or how am I going to feel this impact as a fan or for the program I root for? And I really just think it's in general, Chris, kind of the intangible part that I began with. You have lost so much because nobody gives a single damn about what you want. Yet meanwhile, we're helping somebody in the Pacific Northwest preserve whatever they've already taken a chop at breaking up, that being Oregon and Washington splitting for the Big Ten. I know there will be opinions far and wide, so a great place to share those is in the YouTube comments. Please let us know how you feel about this maneuver. Okay, one more go-around on a football front before we are out of here today. We are diving back into the transfer portal because names continue to appear in the transfer portal. Chris, what's the latest on that front, including a position we've already talked about this week? A tight end is saying bon voyage to Texas Tech. First, today's episode brought to you by PrizePicks. Testing your skills on PrizePicks this football season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports and the best way to spice up any game anytime. And congrats to all those with the skills to win up to 25 times their money through the football year. And now you can do the same during the hoops calendar as well. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, place your entry, and boom, you're ready to roll. And with the NFL playoffs and bowl season coming up, you can also pick combo projections across football and basketball. With easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and a giant selection of players, projections, and stat categories, it's no surprise that PrizePicks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So get in on the fun and go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use our code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100 at prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege. Daily fantasy sports made easy. What's the latest on that front, including a position we've already talked about this week? A tight end is saying bon voyage to Texas Tech.
Yeah, and a couple of receivers. Who's going to be playing in Pullman next year? Really is the question.
Who's playing in Shreveport, man? I still got that question.
That too. Touche. We've got business to tend to in about a week there against the Cal Golden Bears. Speaking of the Pacific part of the country. So the portal continues to be newsy as it relates to Texas Tech. So yesterday, we'll take these one at a time. Yesterday, I think Jay New York sent something out. I think he intends to portal. JJ Sparkman and Loic Fungi both intend or are in the portal. Both wideouts. So Jay New York is a walk-on. We just saw the news of a couple of guys getting placed on scholarship, right? He wasn't one of those. And then within 12 hours, 14 hours, he decides to go to the portal. Is there a direct correlation there? No idea. But was the timing of that lost on me? No, it wasn't. So, I have no way of knowing if there's anything to that. But, I mean, when you put Jordan Brown and Geno on scholarship and Jay New York's been a walk-on that's played some, and he's, so I don't know. But that's the first thing I thought of. Maybe that's, I don't know what all goes into those decisions. But, again, that's what the first thing I thought of. But that's the reason why tight end has always been, 1A right behind the O-line as far as trying to, and I guess receiver maybe, switching into that, although tight end will still be 1A. Now receiver may be 1B on these deals and list of needs and wants. JJ Sparkman he's played his last game here as far as I understand it. I think he had 2 catches this year. Was more of a blocker. And again, I think Rabbit was asked about this recently too. Hey, what do you think about some of your teammates going to the portal or some of the guys you came in here with and all that stuff? He's like, man, they're making business decisions. And that's what, people can assume all kinds of things. These guys everybody's trying to do what's best for them, and I caught 2 to 3 passes this year. I think Jay New York caught 3, Sparkman caught 2. Loic caught 5, and these are names that you've seen on recruiting lists or you've seen on depth charts. And I will say this, I think Loic's going to play through the bowl game. He's the one that I won't say for sure is going to leave. He's going to play through the bowl game. I'll tell you, he's one of your best special teams players. I mean, he's, you blocked a punt and returned it for a touchdown. Loic Fungi did all of those things in the same play. This year, man, he's been really good on special teams. I mean, so he's a nice piece, a depth piece, and all those things. But yeah, I mean, the wheels continue to churn and turn on the bus that known as the portal. So here we go,
and continues to be so offensively heavy. And I'm coming into this period of the off season. I guess we're not technically there yet, but after the regular season thinking, yeah, there's going to be a lot of that going on, but maybe I was underestimating the numbers in which it'd be going on. And I still got to say, of those that you have lost, like we kind of alluded to either earlier this week or last week, I wouldn't consider any of those to be in the category of ones that Texas Tech, put a full court press on and just couldn't keep in the LBK. So you process that as you will as a fan, but certainly notable. And I think also of some note, Chris, the wave of athletes who have showed up on campus in the McGuire era, sort of counting the first class he preserved and then added a few to whenever he got here. And then obviously what he's done since, unless I'm missing someone, those names not being on this kind of list has not been lost on me either. Am I missing somebody from that category? I think these are mostly pre-McGuire arrivals.
Yeah, a couple things. One, go back to who really played the bulk of your receiver reps in the last 2 games of the year. Miles was injured, but Loic wasn't playing a ton or any. Sparkman wasn't playing a ton or any. Miles wasn't playing. Bradley played, less than what he normally was. York wasn't playing at that point because Mason and Cup were back. And so and Jordan Brown just placed on scholarship. You saw a lot of Coy Aiken. You're going to hear a lot of Dre McCray. I think Brady Boyd is somebody they're excited about. You've got the 3 freshmen. You've got Micah Hudson coming in here. You're going to add a couple at least from the receiver group, in the portal that adds to the mix here. So I'll just say this: look at who was kind of playing a lot, and that should tell you everything. And again, I mentioned this example. Trey Cleveland did this last year. He wanted more, and I think that's what maybe these guys they want to be featured more, want to catch more football. I mean, again, we're talking with the 3 guys that we're talking about today. What is that? A combined 10 catches, 10 catches on the season total between 10. The 3 of them for 120 yards. It's just amazing some of the text messages I'm getting, like our pets' heads are falling off. And it's like, and you feel, and there's one more point I wanted to make too about Monroe Mills, but I'll circle back. But this whole thing, I remember this feeling last year. You feel as a fan, you feel vulnerable. It's like, man, last one out the door, man, turn the light off, please. Like nobody wants to. This is where you trust James Blanchard. This is they feel really good about the 3 freshmen that redshirted this year. You've got Micah Hudson and others coming in. You're going to add. I mean, there's a dude that you're trying to get to visit from Washington State. Ironically enough, that averaging 15 yards a catch. Nobody you had last year came close to that. You're trying to upgrade here. It doesn't mean that you can, but this is what you try to do. The only, and I'll tell you, the statement that I made to you, if there's anybody that you don't want to lose, you will not lose them. I firmly believe that. The guy that's come closest to that, and they could have bent over backwards had they wanted to, but I just don't think they were going to. But the guy so far that has come closest to that was Monroe Mills. Yeah. So skill players it's flashy. We talk a lot about these guys. The primary fix must be the offensive line. And the reason why losing Monroe stings is because these guys are harder to find. I don't think he was all world. He certainly wasn't all conference. He was just kind of a good player most Saturdays, but some Saturdays not. But it was like the devil we know better than the devil we don't. However, with NIL and all these things, it just wasn't – I don't think it was going to jive with what he wanted, what all these things are kind of, playing out. And so, but that's the one that comes closest to hurting. Because, man, I can scheme up stuff to get guys open. I can't block nobody. I had an offensive coordinator tell me that years ago, and that still holds true. You can do different things and all that with eye candy, get guys open, but you can't. If you can't block up front, really none of the rest matters.
Maybe even a little bit different of a feeling as well when you're saying last guy out, turn the light off, and blow up the building since we're leveling the son of a gun right now. Yeah. We are still going to have a team, right? I think so. They found a place to meet. All right, Chris, lots of interesting things to chew on from this episode, and we're back around to do it one more time this week on the other side. So hope you'll join us for that. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss one. Appreciate the time as always, man. Enjoyed it.
Our bucket is now empty.
To be filled up again.
That's right. That's right. We'll continue to do our best here, man. But hope everybody enjoys their Thursday. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Keep hope alive, everybody.
That's right. Happy little Friday to all who celebrate. For Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan, and we hope to see you back here for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.